So, while we're sitting here waiting for, there's some kind of funk going on with my laptop again and the connection, I thought we'd do a little introduction with Mr. Sarge. Yes, he's such a pretty boy. Um, he has been with us a little over a year. He is the last furry thing to join um, this household. Um, I don't know that there will be any more once the crew we have now are gone, except for I will always have a dog because my boxer has been just amazing for when I'm sick and things like that, alerting and all that neato stuff. But anyway, of course, now he's not going to look at me because he's mesmerized by the screen. I'll give you a little, you see Prince snoozing there. There's like an ear of him. Um, uh, Sargy, look at you. You're just a handsome old boy. Um, did not intend to get any more furries. We always have a habit of visiting the furries whenever we used to go to PetSmart. Um, and I say used to because we shop, there's a local store here in town that carries the food that they eat, and so we shop local for their food. I try to shop, get litter and other things there as much as I possibly can. Um, he's just having a great old time. Um, I will try to patch. Um, he is very fond of a TV, or TV, not TV, but a radio morning show called Tradio that comes out of Middlesboro, Kentucky with my friend Brian O'Brien. Um, I tune in from Lexington, and on on the TuneIn app, and when he hears the music on, I have two iPads. There's a story, yes, always. Um, there's always a reason or an excuse for everything in my world. But anyway, he comes running because he just loves to hear Brian talk, and he rolls all over the iPad. Now, if it's not Brian, he loses interest, but he's got some kind of cat crush on Brian. But back to his story on how he came to live with us. Um, we had gone to PetSmart to pick up uh, cat and dog food, and like I said, we went back to visit the babies. I love kittens. They, in my home, drive me crazy, but I love kitties. Anyway, so we had gone back into the cat part of where the cats and puppies and dogs are, and I'm petting the babies and giving them some love and attention. And this little kitten in the very bottom, it's tucked in the corner between the wall and his little cage, um, keeps reaching his paw out. So I sat down, and he just kept reaching his little paws out and grabbing my hand and grabbing my arm. Well, my husband kept saying, up, he likes you, he's claimed you. And I said, he's just a kitten. It's nothing about me. It has nothing to do with me. He's just a kitten. Well, so we switched places, and my husband sat down with him. Did not get the same response. A few other people came in, kind of petted him. Didn't really get that. I mean, he was grabbing onto my hand and would not let me go. So he did it again. I sat back down. He did it again, and I decided to look at his little card that had his identification and name and what gender and all that good stuff. And it told me that he was a male cat, and his name was Sarge. Now, generally, whenever I rescue an animal or they come into my home, they get a new name. New name, new life, or new life, new name. Um, this is the only little batch of meanness. Look how sweet. Yes, look how sweet you are. Look how sweet you are. That has come to live with me, who has not gotten a name change. The reason being, and I've spoken about this a couple of times, my father is retired military. Um, Growing up, he and my uncles always had nicknames. Um, my dad's was back in the day of CBs, when they were very popular. My dad was supposed to be Gold Dust because we lived on Fort Knox, and he said, he drove past the gold vault every day, and he had gold dust. Um, but my uncles always called him Sarge. Well, as you know, my dad is a cancer patient. We've talked about this a couple of times in a couple of other videos. But when I saw the name Sarge on there, it just about did it for me. Well, I went ahead and filled out the application for everything and put him on hold just because I had to come home and make up my mind. Now, before I had a chance to even really get coffee in me and out the door the next morning, my husband was calling saying, have you gone and gotten him yet? And all this fun stuff. Well, PetSmart had called me, and they'd had to take him back to the actual Humane Society here in Lexington because he had a little cold, and he had to be treated for it. So when I picked him up, he came with antibiotics. Yay! Which meant that we kept him away from the other cats for the amount of time that he was on the antibiotics, because I'm going to tell you, having a lot of cats with a respiratory infection is not fun, because they pass it back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and it's very hard to eradicate. But anyway, after they always do a follow-up with you after you adopt an animal from the Humane Society. And when they called, the lady that called to check on Sarge, we had a little conversation, of course. She was asking me how he was, and I was telling her. And at that point in time, we were at a state with my dad that things weren't looking real optimistic. And I told her, I said, whenever I seen his name, that just kind of did it for me. And she said, I was really upset and offended because she was retired military as well. And she said, I just thought that it was just, kind of, not something that really should have happened. And then I explained to her about my dad. And I said, he was born literally to be my dad's namesake. And so I have my little Sargie, and he is the most loving, as you can see, snuggly, cuddly ball of fur. He still grabs onto my arm and latches onto me. He has a thing about toilets. He loves to watch the water when you flush it. I don't know. I keep telling him it would make my life oh so much easier if he would just hop up there and do his business in the potty. But so far, that's a no-go. But anyway, while I'm sitting here, because my internet just keeps hiccuping, trying to get my day started, trying to get, a list together and enough gumption to go start everything, thought we would take a moment and introduce little Sargie, since he's right here. If you want a little bit of hometown radio, tune in, get on the TuneIn app, 106.3 WRIL out of Middlesboro, Kentucky. Brian O'Brien, you can find him on Facebook. It's a lot of fun. For an hour and a half, pretty much every day, I'm home. And that's wonderful for me. It makes it easier on my heart because I'm not home. But this is Sargie, and this is what they do. You can see Gabriel in the background. We'll introduce him another time. And Prince, of course, is on the big comfy bed too. This is what they do after they wake me up. Yeah, nice of them, don't you think? Yeah.